Hey everyone, Voodoo here. So recently a ton of new information for Season 4 of Shadowlands was revealed. So in this video, we're going to go over all the quality of life changes that were announced in the recent blue post. We're going to go over the faded affix for raids. We're going to go over the Shrouded affix for Mythic Plus. And we're going to go over the revealed so far tuning to classes and items. Now there's more tuning for classes and items to come. When those come up, I might do a video on them if it's big. But if not, I'll just put a comment in this video. So that's the video today. If you like it, be sure to subscribe. If I hit 500 subs by the time Dragonflight comes out, I'm going to do a giveaway. Leave a comment, leave a like. It really helps me out, and enjoy the video. Alright, so we're going to start by going over all of the quality of life changes and all the gear changes and all that stuff that was announced for Season 4. For those of you that don't know, Season 4 is this big kind of reimagining what like an end of expansion patch is about. So instead of just chilling in Season 3, so with Sepulture and all the Season 3 affix and all that stuff, for another 4 or 5 months. They're mixing up a little bit. They're bringing back some older dungeons in M+, giving us a new affix, and they're kind of remixing all the raids. They're adding a little bit more mechanics to some boss fights, and making them a little harder and giving us higher gear. So because it's a shorter, more experimental season, there's a few things changing with quality of life stuff, with gearing, and all that jazz. So Skarzard, one of, in my opinion, the better developers in WoW. He does a lot of good stuff, really good feedback, tons of good like ideas and improvements, and this was kind of like his little love child. He made a post, I think this morning, so Thursday morning, about all the changes coming. So we're going to look at that first, then we'll move over to kind of the affixes and everything, and then we'll talk about some nerfs that have been announced, and what I think they're going to change as well. So starting, this is the last major post, so I don't think we're going to hear too much until Tuesday's patch notes. But the first big thing is that there's actually no new Conduit upgrades. So you can see here, Conduit item levels are not increasing, and 278 is the new normal item level for Faded raids. So 278 is currently the maximum Conduit level. You can only get that by having all Mythics, 3000 rating, or some PvP thing that I don't know. 3000 M+ rating, by the way. I don't PvP. So basically what's happening is we're going back to all the old raids during Shadowlands. Those each drop Conduits, and they're all going to be available at 278. From any eye level, from any raid, except for LFR, which is 265, which is not that big of a deal. So if you do your normal raids, you can get all your Conduits at max level, which is cool. Non-Shadowlands dungeons aren't getting Conduits, but the Tazavesh ones will also be upgraded. I believe Tazavesh has mostly just Endurance and Finesse Conduits, so I don't think that's a big of a deal, but it depends what's there. And then there is a new thing that upgrades all your Conduits to 278, the Vessel of Profound Possibilities. That was already in. Before you had to do the endgame achievements, but now it's just purchasable for Cosmic Flux, which is big. So everybody can have all their Conduits at max level, no matter who you are, no matter what you do. Timmy, the LFR raider, can have max 58 Conduits and blast away. So I think that's a good change. I think not including more levels is good as well. Getting new levels of Conduits is one of those things that kind of sucked between each patch, right? You just have to go and regrind the stuff you already had for small percentile increases. So I'm glad that they're giving everybody this kind of way of getting to 78 without making it too hard and not giving us more stuff. Now, Legendaries are also not improving. So 291 is going to stay as the max Legendary rank. There's also going to be no new crafted single piece. So 262 is the highest crafted piece you can have. Now, this is interesting. So I think it's fine leaving Legendaries at 291. Personally, if they give another Legendary level with a base item that requires you to craft it, I don't think it's worth that much of the gold investment unless they're super cheap. Because this season doesn't really matter. It's the end. We're getting Dragonflight in a few months anyways, probably in like the fall, right? So really, not giving a new increase, I think is a good idea. But what's happening is because they're only at 291, you will have gear that are higher levels than your Legendaries now, which is a change from what's before. So before, you always wanted to put the Legendary, when you could, in like a higher stat budget slot, right? So you want to put them in chests, helms, that kind of stuff, because you got more main stat. But because you can have gear that is higher eye level than what you're going to end up getting. This incentivizes you to put your Legendaries in other pieces like boots, like wrists, like neck, or like rings, which do not have that main stat on them. Likewise, because we're getting the Mechagon rings, I don't think ring will be a very good Legendary piece anymore because the Mechagon rings are just so powerful. So I think really if you can, you're going to try and put your Legendaries in the neck, in the wrist slot, and in other low impact, low stat budget places like the hands if you don't need it for tier, maybe the boots, maybe the belt. So I think it's going to be an interesting change in the market. But realistically, if you don't care, you don't have to change your Legendaries. You can just keep rocking with 291s you already have, which I think is also good. They're talking about currencies too, so a lot of this stuff isn't too big of a deal. Cosmic Flux stays, it's not going to roll over. There's already been a Cosmic Flux thing that lets you change it, send it to your alt, so that doesn't matter. The unused tokens of merits and effort infused match, so these are the stuff you got from the vault or the socket items, are going to be converted to gold once the season starts. 1,000 gold per token for the vault item and 6,000 gold per socket item. That makes sense because the socket is 6 tokens. You can't use these in season 3, so I think, season 4, so I think turning them to gold is fine. It's a pretty decent premium, so not going to complain there. They're adding new stuff, new tokens to the vault. The big change is that the socket item is only going to cost 3 down from 6. So partly due to just the length of the season, they're calling it really short. So this means now that if you don't get anything in your vault, right, you get your 3 options and none of them are good. You can pick up 2 sockets, which I think is a pretty big deal. Doubling the amount of sockets you can get per week that you don't end up doing, don't end up getting a good item, I think is a really good change to this. I think that hopefully if they keep this around, sockets and all that jazz with tokens, that this will move forward in Dragonflight as well. They're talking about Mythic Plus, so this is kind of a bigger one. Same with Rating, we'll cover those. So Mythic Plus, -3 keystone levels, so get your 18s done this week, so you get your 15 next week. I know I have to do mine, I haven't done N Plus in a few weeks because Alpha's been up. Gotta get that done. Old dungeon items are going to keep their stats scaling up. That means that WAD rings are going to have primary stat on them. However, their item scaling is really bad. So I would be careful using those. I don't think they're going to be BIS. Maybe if they're an upgrade, sim yourself, check it out. But I would be careful. I think that could be a bit of a trap for some people seeing primary stats on rings, but just missing out on how much, on how their stat scaling is. There's also going to be WAD trinkets with no primary stats, whatever. Mechagon rings are going to be really good. Those are coming from dungeons, so those are 2 parts. There's one ring where it's like if you fulfill X condition, and that's going to be your top ring, and then you get a bottom ring that's like if you then you get this. So it basically reads like code. So if you're behind your enemy, you gain 90 haste or whatever, right? So those rings are going to be really powerful, and I think most classes are going to want to pick those up. I do not think the primary stat rings are going to be that good. There's also a bunch of other unique items. I'm going to cover them in another video, but all that stuff is staying in the dungeons. Azure Armor obviously is gone. We can't use Azure Armor. The WAD dungeons also have a massive pool of 100 items. A lot of those are being removed and kind of being hand-picked. So the stuff unique to the 2 WAD dungeons are going to stay, as well as a select few items from the massive 100 catalog of WAD stuff. So there's a lot of WAD items that just kind of were dungeon-wide, and a lot of those being removed, but some are staying in. Other big thing, there is no cap to Mythic Plus End of 1 in the first week, so you can fully degen everything first week. There's no Valor cap, none of that. So if first week comes out and you want to spend 30 hours just slamming dungeons, you can be full BIS dungeon geared, 300 eye level by week 1 if you really want to do that. Other big thing, Mythic Rating. Rating. Mythic Rating is open from launch, so everybody can just go right in. Cross Realm is on. There's no Hall of Fame, whatever. Raid scripts will work. Likewise, Castle Nathria and Sod will now give you rep for their respective thing, and will also give you Cosmic Flux whenever they're faded. And then items with the faded tag can turn into tier set with Creation Catalyst. Not that big of a change. We figured that would happen, but the rep is pretty cool. Sepulture has been giving rep whenever you do it, so it's just nice that these are giving you reps as well. Another big thing, and the last one for this part, is the raid rewards. So Richelieu, Death's Whisper, the bow is not available from the vendor. If you already have the bow, you can get an item to make it 285. The bow will still be dropped by Sylvanas, but because it's legendary, you won't be able to buy it. I think this is kind of interesting. I don't know if it's that good of a decision, but at the end of the day, the Sylvanas bow itself wasn't actually that powerful. BM used it sometimes because they had more open GCDs, but even now, I don't know if you have as many open GCDs as before. MM almost never used it because you just didn't have time in your rotation to use the bow. So I think it's fine that it's not available there. I do think that it wouldn't really hurt them to put it there. Hopefully it drops, way higher. They mentioned that they're bumping up Richelieu and Edge of Night, which is the incredibly strong dagger. They're bumping up the drop chance, but hopefully it's high enough that it'll make a reasonable difference, especially since you can't get the bow from the tokens and whatnot. Now this part down here, I'm going to come back and cover in another section, but they're making a change to trinkets to kind of bump up the power of some underused Shadowlands trinkets and stuff from the other raids, and they're going to bump down the power of dungeon trinkets. And I'll cover this kind of text here in another part of the video at the end when we go over the balance changes. So next we're going to talk about the new faded raid affix. Alright, so the other big piece of news that I kind of forgot to cover in that first section there is how you're actually getting gear in Season 4. So besides from M+, right, the max gear level is going to be 311, I believe, for the end game stuff. And then 304 for whatever. So 278 is going to become 304. 285 becomes 311, so that's kind of our max item level upgrade. But because it's so short and because there's all these raids, they're also introducing a deterministic way of gearing. So basically there's going to be a quest when you get in there to kill X number of unique bosses. I believe it was 30, 20, and 10. However, I do not know what those numbers look like now. They have changed them. But when you complete that quest, you will get a Puzzling Cartel Dinar. This is a priceless item. You can only have 3 of them per character ever. You do not get another one. And you take these dinar and you can trade them for gear, specific gear, from 3 vendors near the Great Vault in Oribos. So 1 vendor before each raid, so 1 for Nathria, 1 for Domination, and 1 for Sepulture. And you can go through there and they will have all of the fancy items like unique effects, trinkets, weapons that you can choose. So I'm on my Demon Hunter, right? Let's say I have my 3 dinar, I buy 2 Vein Rippers, so I got unlucky, and then I buy the Cartel, the cash from Zymox from Sepulture, because I got unlucky and didn't get that yet either, right? So I can go and buy these items and they will come as normal eye level, 278 to 285, which you never think, hey, that's pretty low, you know, I raid Mythic, why is this useful for me? Well, the other thing with that is that Heroic and Mythic raid bosses in the Faded will drop things called Confounding Antique Ciphers and Confounding Ancient Ciphers. And when you have 20 of these, you can combine them into one item that lets you upgrade any faded piece, so any piece from the raids, to that level. So let's say you kill enough bosses, you get 20 Confounding Antique Ciphers from Heroic. You take your normal eye level Vein Ripper you bought, you combine those items, and then you upgrade that normal Vein Ripper from 278 all the way up to Heroic level, which I believe is 278 plus 13 is like 291, I think, is going to be that. Don't quote me on that, but it'll be around there. I think it's 291 will be the Heroic eye level. So you can do that. You can also do it with the Mythic stuff. Right? Finding Ancient Cipher, upgrading all the way up to 304. Now, the big thing there is that you can upgrade normal loot as well. So running normal will be important if you aren't getting lucky on these bigger, higher difficulties. So you can loot your normal Vein Ripper normally. I said normal a lot there. And then you can use these things to upgrade them to a useful eye level that you need for, you know, killing Mythic bosses or doing high end plus or whatever. So they're really adding this deterministic way of gearing. And I think it is very, very good. And I hope they carry this forward into future expansions and patches. So in order to kind of mix it up and make the raids coming back in Season 4 more interesting, they're adding something called the Faded Affix. Now, once a week, what's going to happen is each of the 3 Shadowlands raids is going to get this Faded Affix put on them, which will increase the difficulty of the bosses and increase the item level reward, and also add these new kind of twists to the bosses. Now, there was no testing of this on the PTR, so we don't know what bosses get these powers, when they get them, or even if it's different week to week, or if each boss has the same one, like if Sludge Fist will always have Chaotic Essence, or if it changes week to week. That's something we don't know, and something we will find out on Tuesday. I imagine each boss is going to have a similar one, maybe it'll change, but altogether, all of these faded things are basically Kiss Curse rewards. You do something, you pass a mechanic, and you get rewarded with a damage or healing buff. If you fail it, you just take some raid damage. It's not like it's going to wipe you, nothing like that. So basically, they're just kind of boosts that'll let you burn through the boss faster. Basically, I don't think these will make the bosses that much harder. I think it's going to allow you to just kind of burn the bosses as fast as possible. Like, if these overlap with the damage on the boss, like let's say you get them with Sludge Fist, you're doing a double damage plus 40%, you're going to burn through the guy. Anyways, we'll go over them. There are 4. They're all kind of your basic, like, WoW's greatest hits mechanic kind of deal. So, Chaotic Essence. Someone will add that cast something, which deals damage, right? Whenever you interact with it, so interrupt it or stop it in some way, it becomes hostile and spawns a bunch of, like, little adds that channel onto people. I'm assuming these can be stunned and CC'd. And then whenever you kill those adds, after 15 seconds, it'll be gone. And for each add you kill, you get 22% increased damage, healing, and absorbs for 25 seconds, and it stacks. So theoretically, there's no upper limit. I guess the upper limit is how many motes it could spawn. That is a pretty big damage gain for very little stuff. We don't know how much damage is actually going to happen. 3 cosmic damage isn't a lot. I assume it'll be more. But really, I think this will be pretty easy to deal with and give you a pretty big damage buff. So the next one is Creation Spark, which is pretty interesting. Sorry. So this one charges up a player, inflicting 3 cosmic damage every second, or however much damage for 30 seconds, and it stacks. Whenever you remove it, so I'm assuming it's a Dispel, it sends up a big Creation Spark to nearby locations, which will infuse players, increasing their flow of time by 15%. So that's casting speed, attack speed, cooldown, recharge rate, periodic tick rates, and movement speed by 45%. And this stacks. So basically what'll happen is you get something on a person, you're going to Dispel it. Whenever you Dispel it, it'll put a little swirly on the ground. You want to soak the swirly. When you soak it, you gain a Giga haste buff, affecting everything, right? You get more cooldowns, more cast speed, attack speed, and periodic tick rate. And you also get movement speed. If nobody's there, it'll do a big amount of damage to everybody. Every 2 seconds for 20 seconds, so it'll be a big raid-wide dot, and there's also stacks. Now, I don't think it's going to be like a raid-wipe mechanic, but I think it will make it definitely harder. So you do want to be soaking these, not even just for the damage, but just for the extra stuff. So I don't think this one's going to be that bad either. Just a Dispel, and then you soak, and you get a Giga damage buff. The next one, Protoform Barrier. This one's pretty self-explanatory. So, empowers the caster, inflicting 1 damage to all players every 3 seconds. Now this, I don't know how this will manifest itself. It could be a cast you have to interrupt. It could be a debuff on a player to be dispelled. It could be a purge effect. I don't know on that one. It could just be something that has to run its course. But whenever that is removed, it manifests itself as 1 attackable enemy and 1 healable enemy, which casts a shared shield on all enemies for 15 seconds. So it'll be 2 guys that come out, and they'll both put a shield, the same shield, so they'll share it over everything. When you damage 1 mob, it'll reduce the shield on everybody. And then if you heal the second one, it will lose the shield on everybody too. Whenever this barrier expires, so if you don't break it, it deals a big amount of damage to everybody, and then additional damage every few seconds, every 1 second for 8 seconds. So obviously you want to break it. If you do break it, you get a 25% damage increase, 25% healing increase, 25% absorb increase for 40 seconds, which is a long time. And you also deal the damage done to each enemy during the barrier back to them as cosmic. So this one, also pretty self-explanatory. It's like a Disognate shield or something like that. A barrier comes up. We don't know what's going to trigger the enemy spawning. It's going to be something like a purge or a dispel or interrupt. Barrier comes up, break the barrier, big damage increase, fun times. The last one's Reconfiguration Emitter. What this does is it summons an attackable enemy which casts continuously and is immune until you interrupt the first cast. You don't want the cast to really get off. It deals damage to everything over 5 seconds, and it gains increased damage done. So you want to interrupt it, which does much less damage to everybody. Whenever you kill it, it gives everybody a damage increase based on how much damage done it has. So the power level, right? So every 5 seconds it gains in power level. So you want that to stack up, and then you kill it. And when you kill it, you increase your mastery by X%, critical chance by up to 10%, verse by 10%, and avoidance by up to 8%. So I don't know what those values are going to be. This one effectively, a little guy that's going to continuously cast something. You want to interrupt it, and every 5 seconds they'll do more damage. Whenever you finally kill it, it won't deal anything, but it'll give you a larger benefit for how long it was alive, basically. So you want this one I think is my most favorite. It's the most interesting of them. It's not just do this, do X. This one you kind of can play with how long you want it to live, how many stacks you want to get. It's kind of a reward, right? Like the longer it lives, the more damage it'll deal. But then at the end, whenever you kill it, the more buff you'll get. I don't see a cap or anything here. There could be one added, of course. But if there's no cap, this is going to be a very interesting play on, okay, how long can we let this live for versus how big of a buff do we want to get? So those are the 4 affixes. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm excited to see how they interact inside the game. I think it's going to be really fun on some bosses to have these kind of damage amps. Really, it'll be a nice change of pace from what we're used to with some of these fights. So I look forward to seeing these on Tuesday. So the next thing we're going to do is the Shrouded Mythic Plus affix. So yeah. So a new season means a new M plus affix for that season. And Shrouded seems decent enough. It's really straightforward and it seems fairly low impact. But it's not really a big negative either. So you won't be building your routes around it like you were with Sinful in Season 1, that's the name of it. Dragonflight has a big video on it if you want to check that out. I haven't personally done any PTR testing this cycle, but I do know how this thing works. So effectively, at the start of the dungeon, you're going to talk to a little guy. So we'll look at this Dragonflight clip. This guy right here. Talk to him, and you get to choose a buff to get. Note, the versatility has actually been nerfed. It is 1% per stack, not 2% per stack. And you'll get a stack of this immediately. Then, throughout the dungeon, there are going to be these Dreadlords disguised as mobs that have the disguise buff on them. When you engage that mob in combat, it will be revealed as a Dreadlord, and will have special little effects. So there's two kinds of Dreadlords. There's Zulgamax, who is like a big mini boss. He gives you 3 stacks. And there is the Nathrazim Infiltrator, who is the regular one. So they have a little bit of mechanics, but nothing too serious. So they have a heal whenever they strike the target. They have Carrion Swarm, which is a cone that reduces healing. They have Nightmare Cloud, which is like the cloud from Lords of Dread that will put you to sleep if you touch it. Nothing too serious. Then whenever you kill them, you get 1 stack of your bounty buff, so you'll gain a stack of haste, verse, crit, or mastery, depending on what you chose at the start. And you also restore 6% health and mana every second for 5 seconds, so, you know, healer mana, again, not too big of a deal. Of note, these do not drop souls for demon hunters when you kill them, because you don't actually kill them. They basically get, like, caught in, like, a Pokeball, if you will, or they get captured by the guy when they're at, like, 1% health. So, sad for demon hunters. I'm a Havoc man. I really thought they were going to Demon Soul, but they do not, which is very sad. So, yeah, just, they do not give you souls. They also are really easy to deal with, way easier than encrypted mods. You really can just cleave them down. It's not a big deal. The other one is Zulgamax. This one has a lot higher health and is a lot harder to deal with, but I think will always be in the same location in every dungeon, so you know where it is. This one, when you kill it, gives you 3 stacks of the buff. So instead of 2% haste, you'll get 6. Instead of 3% verse, you'll get... Sorry, instead of 1% verse, you'll get 3% verse, and so on. But he does have more mechanics, see? So he has Shadow Claws, basically dealing an additional Shadow Dot. Whenever you hit somebody, it can be dispelled. Blood Barrier is a shield that begins siphoning blood from enemies, so us, and healing for that amount. You want to break this barrier as fast as possible. It also makes her immune to interrupts. Shadow Eruption is a big shadow damage thing that reduces healing. And then Hypnosis Bat is a ad that spawns that is really funny. So basically what it does is it spawns and it puts an ally in a shadow shield, and while you're in that shadow shield, you are a hostile to your allies, so you'll deal damage to them, and they can be damaged by them. And there's a shield that, while it's up, will be there, so you kind of just break the shield out. You really want to DPS through the barrier, so this is a little image of Dratnos fighting the guy. A few stuff going on. Basically, the shield comes out, the blood shield on the mob. You want to DPS through it, then interrupt it. So it's kind of like Hakar mixed with an interrupt, right? So just break the shield, interrupt it. Hypnosis Bats, you want to just either stun them or kill them before it casts the hypnosis thing or whatever. That will stop it completely. You also can just, you know, DPS down your friends and break out the shield. But that's really it. Oh, I guess actually you get 20% health and mana every 1 second. So once you kill Zulgamax, you literally are immortal for the next 5 seconds. 20% health is ridiculous. You basically have to be 1 shot to be killed, and you get 3 stacks, and that's it. So it's a really straightforward, really simple Affix. I think that's fine. Shorter season, right? They're not going to spend too much development time. They're not going to really put too much thought into it in terms of what they're doing and whatnot. But I still think it gives some interesting play around, and I am looking forward to testing it out. So that is everything that you need to know in order to get ready for Season 4 of Shadowlands. I'm super excited. I'm going to be doing a lot of Season 4 content. I'll have a few more videos coming out over the next few weeks. I will be gone, actually, for a bit during the middle of it. But other than that, I will be going hard at it. I'm excited, you know, to get all these new effects combined at once together. Vein Ripper and Cash and all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. If you liked the video, leave a comment, leave a like. Let me know how I did. Subscribe really helps me out. Small channel, again, trying to get 500 subs by Dragonflight, and I'll be doing a giveaway. So if you want to be part of that, hit the subscribe button. And I just want to thank you guys all for all the support, and I'll see you next time.